All right, Neal. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's good to see you again, Tony. Thanks for coming to YouTube.
I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you as well. You've been on the job for how many months now?
About 6 months in this particular role. I've been at YouTube for a very long time.
A long time. I know Chief Product Officer before. In this new role as Chief Executive Officer of YouTube, how's it going?
It's been great. A lot of it is because a big part of my job is the same. You know, I always describe it to people on my teams that we build a stage for the world, and our job is to build the technology, this stage metaphor, and it's our creators that are on this stage doing the magic that they do, the creativity, informing the world, educating the world, entertaining the world. And that aspect of my job when I was, head of product to now where I'm leading the company is the same, and I just love doing that every single day.
You take over the role from Susan Wojcicki, who had been in it for quite a long time. Did she give you any advice on her way out the door?
Well, Susan and I have worked together for a very long time, including many, many years, even before both of us were at YouTube, so I consider her a great friend, a mentor. And she would give me advice throughout the years that we worked together, 15 plus years, but also just in her own actions. And I always felt that a big part of what she did was put our creators, our partners, our ecosystem first. And that's what I like to do. So I've spent a lot of time in my new role, spending time with creators, throughout the country, throughout the world, just kind of hearing what's top of mind for them. And that's super fun and inspiring.
Susan's still just a phone call away if you need a little bit of old school advice?
Yeah, Susan is not just a phone call away. I text her, I talk to her. I just saw her actually just a few days ago, so we're great friends.
Was any part of you, because this is a big job, hesitant to take the job?
Because I had been at YouTube for such a long time, and as you know, Google for many years before that, I understood the responsibility. It is a lot of responsibility. We are a global platform. Billions of users come to our platform. But there wasn't hesitancy because I really love YouTube. I love what our mission is. I love being at service of our creators, and that's fun and fulfilling.
All right, well, I want to talk about where YouTube is today, but to get the juices flowing here, I want a little reminder of where YouTube began. The original YouTube creator, I think, this is the individual credited with the very first posting to the original YouTube as a video repository. Do you recognize this video?
Yeah, that's me at the zoo, San Diego Zoo.
All right, so here we are in front of the elephants. Cool thing about these guys is that they have really, really, really long trunks, and that's cool.
I've watched this video at least dozens and dozens of times, and every time I watch it, it gives me goosebumps because it reminds me of where YouTube came from.
Yeah.
And it is a encapsulation of the name, YouTube. It really is about you, the creator, and that's where it all started 18 years ago.
So what has YouTube become? What is YouTube?
In some senses, we're exactly the same as where that video started. We are a place where our objective, our mission is to give everyone a voice and show them the world. And that means two very specific things, which is if you have an idea, a thought to share, then you can do that with the world without any gatekeepers, without anybody telling you that you don't look the right way or you don't sound the right way. We are an open platform that way. So that's one side of our mission and what we are, and that's where the tens of millions of creators that are on our platform come from. And we're also a place where we show everyone the world. So if you are, no matter where you are in the world, if there's something that you want to learn, an idea that you want to connect with, a community that you want to belong to, YouTube is the place to make that a reality.
It's a beautiful mission, right? Give everyone a voice, show everyone the world. But then when you get into the details, there are some people in this world you would not love to have a bigger voice. And other things in this world you don't necessarily want to show to everyone. And that's where this job gets a little bit tough, I would imagine.
Yeah, I always say that, whenever a decision comes up to me, it's typically a trade-off between two bad choices. Otherwise, the decision would have been made somewhere else in the organization, and that's big part of that is my job. But to the premise of your question, the way I would The way I think about it is we have always been an open platform, and the power of that is enormous, again, as I said. The amount of creators that have found audiences, built businesses on our platform is enormous. We've paid out over $50 billion to this creator ecosystem over the last 3 years. So it is a place of enormous opportunity through this openness of the platform, but that doesn't mean it's anything goes. We've had community guidelines on the platform since the very early days, and my number one responsibility is keeping our ecosystem of creators, viewers, all of our partners safe on YouTube, and I put that above anything else that we do.
Including profit?
I put that including our business, all the products we build. That is the first thing that we look at. When you're in a product review or business review at YouTube, that is the North Star by which we govern all of our actions.
Safety.
Safety of our ecosystem, of our creators, our viewers, our partners. It also happens, as it turns out, to be aligned with our business objectives. Our partners want to be part of an ecosystem where they feel safe. And a big part of that is having community guidelines, clear rules of the road that we publish on our website, and enforcing them equally across all our stakeholders.
I want to talk about one recent decision, a policy reversal. So around the 2020 election, YouTube was taking down or de-emphasizing content that denied the results of the 2020 election. More recently, I think just in June, so in your tenure, you are once again allowing content that undercuts the legitimacy of that election by saying there was fraud or there were widespread glitches, et cetera, et cetera. What went into that reversal?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd say, Tony, is that, as you know, elections are the bedrock of our democracy. They are the bedrock of democracies all over the world, and it's something that I take very seriously because, as we talked about, what happens in the world happens on YouTube. Yeah. So a lot of this political discourse during an election season, leading up to an election season, is happening on our platform. And we have a set of rules, our election integrity policies, that don't allow content that might mislead people in terms of how to vote, encourage people to interfere in the voting process. We raise up content from authoritative sources when people are looking for news about candidates or politics, including, the videos from CBS, the CBS channel on our platform. And so that's a bit of the backdrop. And in the case of the policy that you're alluding to, we always remain flexible in terms of our policies, in terms of the broad sort of changing environment. And back to this notion of trade-offs, one of the things that we saw was we don't want a policy rubric that is interfering with broad sort of political discourse on our platform. And so we made the judgment to err on the side of allowing sort of that full discourse happening leading up to the 2024 election. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to remain incredibly vigilant. We already have teams that are thinking ahead to that 2024 election to make sure that our ecosystem is safe. We have policies around hate speech, harassment, harmful criminal conspiracy theories, all situations where we will remove content regardless of who that speaker is leading up to an election.
But on the content that questions the 2020 election results, there was no widespread fraud in that election. So saying so would be a lie. Are politicians allowed to lie in that way on YouTube?
Well, as you know, every election cycle, especially as you get closer and closer to the elections, is full of lots of political speech, lots of heated rhetoric. That is the nature of politics in this country and politics around the world. And back to the spirit of being an open platform, we wanted to allow for that full range of discourse. But that doesn't mean, again, that anything goes. We do have a robust election integrity policy in place. We raise up content from authoritative sources when users are looking for news information. We run election panels leading up to the election. We did, for example, around vote by mail in the 2020 election. So we really do try to remain nimble and deal with the issues of today as they come up, based on our principles of having clear community guidelines, preventing real-world harm, but also allowing for open political discourse.
So it sounds like the answer to the question, can a politician lie on YouTube, is yes, but.
Well, again, lots, just like it happens in town hall meetings or at a campaign rally or an interview on a program like this. Politicians say a lot of things when they are making their case to the public, and we want to be a platform where that type of discourse is allowed, and ultimately it's up to our viewers to judge whether that candidate is ultimately worthy of their vote or not.
I imagine part of you can't wait for 2025 when we're in the other side of this election. But I do have one more question on politics, because people on the right, my friends on the right, will tell me that they don't trust YouTube to make decisions that are impartial when it comes to conservative content. To that concern, you say what?
What I would say is that we have very clear community guidelines. We try to be as transparent about them as possible, and we publish them on our website. YouTube is a place that doesn't tolerate content that violates those community guidelines. And when those community guidelines are violated, and we've detected that, regardless of who the speaker is, who produced the content, we remove those videos, regardless of any sort of affiliation, political affiliation, regardless of any characteristics. Because we're a video platform, what's important is what's in those four corners of the video, and we make that judgment regardless of who the channel owner is, who the speaker is, and we try to be as effective and efficient as possible in terms of enforcing these community guidelines. And that's really the best we can do.
So YouTube is ready for the 2024 election?
It is, what I would say is that we are already focused on it. We remain vigilant. We have, lots of experience with elections at this point. We learn something new every single election cycle. For example, next year we're talking about the US elections. Obviously all eyes are on that, but there are big elections that are happening all over the world. India is going to have a very big election. And so as a global platform, we want to remain vigilant and make sure that our platform is a place where that election process can play out, subject to our community guidelines, in a very open manner.
Let's talk about the creators, because they're a big part of YouTube. You give a major share of advertising revenue to creators. And then sometimes you have to make some very complicated decisions about when to demonetize people. That is, to not let them make money off the advertising. Recent case from the headlines just before we sat down, Russell Brand, huge creator on YouTube, very famous comedian and actor. He's no longer monetized on YouTube following rape accusations. What goes into a decision like that?
Yeah, so what you're alluding to is we have a set of community guidelines that govern whether your content can be on the platform, whether it comes down or not. That's what we just spoke about in the context of elections. We also have a set of guidelines, a higher bar, if you will, in terms of what type of content can monetize on our platform. As you said, we have a very vibrant creator economy. There's over 2 million creators that are eligible for our YouTube partner program that can monetize on it. And when creators, we have a creator responsibility guidelines policy where if creators have off-platform behavior or there's off-platform news that could be damaging to the broader creator ecosystem, you can be suspended from our monetization program. This is a policy that's been in place, I think, for several years now. It's impacted a number of creators and personalities on the platform in the past, and that's what played out in this particular case around the serious allegations.
Is this one of those tough decisions that gets to your desk? Because, I mean, it's an accusation, it's not a police charge, it's not a legal decision. How do you decide when to step in, almost like a government, and take away a person's ability to make money or take away a person's ability to speak in this public way before the whole due process has happened?
Yeah, I mean, really it comes down to the fact, I think the best thing that YouTube can do is be transparent about what the rules of the road are for our platform, publish them to our website, and then be as true to those community guidelines as possible. And we have, thousands of trained individuals all over the world that are enforcing this. We've invested very heavily in technology to enforce these policies that we have. In the example that you're alluding to, that was a decision around suspension of monetization as opposed to not being allowed to
Right,
speak on our
yes.
platform,
Yeah, yeah.
just to clarify.
Yes.
And so by having these sort of clear rules of the road that we work on very hard, deliberately, and then publishing them and trying to be as true to the enforcement, that's the mechanism. And as I said in response to your earlier question, we endeavor to apply those rules equally across our entire creator ecosystem, not playing favorites, having them apply to the content, the behavior, as opposed to who the person is.
Let's talk about the algorithm. As I understand it, 70% of the traffic on YouTube is recommended content from the algorithm. Is that still true?
I don't know what the exact numbers are today, but the way that I think about it is we have this, there are lots and lots of videos on YouTube, and everybody's interests are uniquely tailored to their preferences. And so the North Star, if you will, the goal of our recommendation algorithms and the way that it shows up in our product is when you open up the app in the home feed or the what's next after you're done watching a video. They're based on helping our viewers find what is interesting to them as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And that's what the algorithm does.
Where is the algorithm? Can I find it? Can I talk to the algorithm? I thought you would come out with like a briefcase with a chain around your wrist. Does the algorithm live in there? Like, what kind of tweakage can you make? Is it a physical thing?
No, what's really interesting about it, we're talking about algorithms and kind of recommendations. What it really is personal preferences of the viewer. And that's really the best way to explain it. So your experience with YouTube, almost by definition, is going to be different than mine because you have interests that are different. Those interests change over time. And the YouTube product should learn that over time and cater what we recommend, what we suggest to you based on those preferences. And so it's really the product reacting to you as the viewer as opposed to anything sort of kind of mysterious black box out there.
Okay, but this becomes a really interesting question because how can you create community when, by the very definition of how the algorithm works, you're in a silo, I'm in a silo, where we're getting different content, different videos?
The communities on YouTube are enormous. They center around our creators. If you walk the halls of YouTube here, you're going to hear that term creator over and over throughout the course of the day. And it's the magic of the creators that produces those communities. And so, I always say, I try to remind people on my team that people don't come to YouTube because of, the amazing technology that we build into the app. Of course we have to do that. That's that stage metaphor I used before.
Yeah.
But it's because they have these creators that they love, that they're connected with. And so the community is happening everywhere. You watch a video, they're happening in the comments below the video. They might happen in response to a post from a creator or a short that creator created. And so those are where the communities are. It's incredibly vibrant, and it's happening billions and billions of times a day.
But you're talking about communities, plural. We're in a divided country. There are other countries in the world where there's a stark political divide. Is the algorithm contributing to that divide by pushing people into like-minded silos?
I mean, Tony, what I'd say is we're a platform where you create, share, and watch video. And so a big part of what we have to do is make it so that the content that you're consuming, the videos you're watching, are interesting to you. And so that is the core tenet of how we recommend videos to you. But in terms of whether people are sort of in silos or not, there's been a lot of research done. We obviously look at those types of things ourselves, but more importantly, there's been a lot of third-party research that's been done that's kind of debunked that claim that basically, people come to YouTube with their own preferences, just like they do in real life anywhere in the world. And what our recommendation algorithms gives them those preferences. I happen to be a sports nut, so if you look at my feed,
can we look
it's
at
a
your
lot
feed?
of.
Can we take it? I'll show you my feed. I'll show you.
I mean, it's probably a combination of a lot of NFL highlights these days. I'm a baseball fan, so a lot of that as well.
I'm a baseball fan as well.
Yeah, and so that's that'll probably be something that shows up in your feed because you're interested in it. Now that doesn't mean that's the only thing that goes into the algorithm. We look at 80 billion signals, and we also layer on top of that raising up authoritative sources, especially when users are looking for news-related information, health-related information. And so it's a combination of those types of things where we live up to our responsibility as a global platform, but also deliver the personalized experiences that our viewers crave.
So if somebody comes to YouTube and they're on a journey toward radical points of view on whatever issue in whatever direction, you're saying that they're on that journey independent of YouTube. YouTube is not feeding them videos that walk them down that path.
We, first thing that I would say is that every viewer's, journey on our platform is there. So I don't want to speak to anybody's individual experiences on the platform. But what we endeavor to do is give them personalized recommendations, but we layer all of these responsibly related sort of initiatives on top of that. So like I said, raise up authoritative sources when users are looking for information. And that concept of authoritative sources is not something that I define or that even YouTube defines. It's defined by third-party raters that are out there in a way that is representative of the society where those raters come from. I won't get into the technical details of that. But a lot of that is basically to make sure that what we are delivering that personalized experience, but doing it in a responsible way. And third-party researchers have shown that we're not leading people down those paths over and over again. There's been multiple studies published about that.
The algorithm is so good, the creators are so good that people spend at this point, on average, years of their waking life on YouTube. It's an amazing fact. Some social media companies have come to a point where they now will introduce sort of mental health reminders that say, hey, you've been on for a while. Maybe you want to take a break. Have you considered nudging people toward getting off when they use too much?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say there is it's important to distinguish YouTube from kind of social media platforms in general. We're a video platform where people create videos, they share them, they watch them. And so the nature of what happens on YouTube is a little bit different than, you're looking at a post that was shared by a friend. We're not connecting people through a social graph or a friend graph. Having said that, I do take those types of questions incredibly seriously. We have a whole team that is focused on particularly the young viewers on our platform. And our actions have been around really kind of trying to live up to that responsibility. So for our youngest viewers, we have the YouTube Kids app. It is a more limited corpus. It is one that has parental controls around things like time spent, including even picking out the videos and channels that parents are comfortable with those young viewers watching. As people are consuming videos on our main app, kind of the main platform, we also have those things like take a break reminders, those types of wellness features built into it. And so that is something that we take very seriously, especially for younger viewers.
You mentioned younger viewers, you've got kids, I've got kids. Do you let your kids watch YouTube?
I do let our kids watch YouTube. I have kind of a full range of kids, and
the full suite. I do too. From
Yes.
2 all the way to 14. I've got the.
So in our household, I don't know about yours. I mean, I have a daughter who's still on YouTube Kids. She really enjoys that. My wife and I are able to keep tabs on her viewing and her, not just the videos that she watches, but how long she watches them. And our older kids consume videos on the main app. We have a supervised experiences way of doing that where I can remain in control as a parent, both in terms of time and what they're watching.
Yeah.
And so that's basically how we go about doing it.
Can you assure parents, or you assured yourself, that YouTube is safe for the kids using it?
What I can tell you, Tony, is and I see this because I sit in these reviews myself, there's an enormous amount of thought that goes into making sure that we are a safe platform for our viewers. When I'm out there talking to parents, and we do that by having experts in-house, but also working with third-party experts, child development experts, teen well-being experts, who we really rely on for guidance in terms of features, in terms of content policies, in terms of parental controls. And when I'm out there talking to parents or teens, a lot of the feedback that I get is that YouTube is a place where lots of those young viewers come, and I see this in the case of my own son, come to watch videos about, whether it's algebra or trig. It's also a place where they go to blow off steam or connect around community, whether it's gaming or music or what have you. And so in that sense, I think it's a platform where young people can find community, but also learn something new. And we want to do that in a way where we have the controls easy to use for parents to be able to make those decisions about their children, really across the spectrum, from very young kids all the way through teenagers.
The Supreme Court ruled again this year that YouTube and really any social media company is not responsible legally. They're not liable for something they may recommend or host on their platform. Do you think you should be more liable for things that you recommend to people and what they then do with that information? I'm thinking in particular, of course, about violent activity, how-tos with, say, weapons, or an introduction to an extremist group that someone then joins and participates in. These sort of high-profile cases that have come up over the years.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say two things. So first, about that Supreme Court ruling, I do think Section 230 is a bedrock, not just for platforms like YouTube, open platforms like YouTube, but really for the free and open internet. Without that bedrock legislation, the internet that we all know and love today simply would not exist. Having said that, as I said, I do think we have a responsibility. We are a global platform. We're a platform that young people use every single day. All of us use every single day. And that's why I said living up to that responsibility is my number one priority. It comes before every other decision we make at YouTube.
If you thought I was kidding earlier about looking at your homepage or recommendations on YouTube, I'm not. I would love to see it. I will show you mine. I'm a big user of YouTube.
Yeah, I can bring you my
All right, let's
laptop
bring it over here.
Let's see.
Let's see. If you want to pre-screen it and just sort of detail it to us,
yeah,
you
let
can.
me go.
Where's
let me
my
go
phone, Daisy?
No, let me grab it.
I'm a little bit, Will, I hope we're still rolling, because I'm a little bit, you have to keep in mind that, I prepare for a lot of different interview guests on the show, and I often do so by looking their prior interviews up on YouTube. And so I don't know what YouTube thinks I am as a person.
All right.
All right, here we go. So,
And I did not plant this, but look at what's right in the center there.
the Dion interview, it's doing really well on YouTube. It's got
Yeah.
more than 2 million views. I keep getting fed that one as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I got some music here. As I said, I got an Ohtani video. I'm a sports fan.
Sports guy. Who's
I
going to
have
win
a
the Cy
bad
Young?
bad back, so I got some stretching videos.
I love that. You can learn
knows
so
me,
much about a person based on their recommendations.
Let's
All
see
right,
what you
so
have.
I've got an interview with the Palantir CEO. It says Oppenheimer moment. We had the director of Oppenheimer on, so I think it's probably from that. These are the shorts, which are now a big part of YouTube. Cleo Abrams was going to be at the UN event where I met you, so I was watching some of her videos. Trevor Noah, of course, former member of the Paramount family. I'm a big foodie, so they're recommending some, I don't know, how to cook lobster videos here. Wow. I don't know what this is.
Very cool.
Very cool. So
We
AI
probably
runs
have
a
lot
big
of
part of
talking
this, right?
heads. AI is a big part of it. AI has obviously been it's a big buzzword out there today. For the last several months, the reality is at YouTube, we've been investing in AI for many, many years. The whole conversation we had around recommendations and the personalized, feed that you have, that is our investment in AI. We've built a number of machine learning tools that allow us to do that. All that work that I talked about in terms of protecting our ecosystem, enforcing our community guidelines, the way that we're able to do that at scale across billions of videos on our platform is through investment in AI tools, machine learning algorithms that augment the work that our highly trained individuals are doing all over the world.